Hey everyone, it's Jo, and today's video is going to be about fuckable objects. That's the topic today. Because I was, well, let me start. A few days ago at work, as you know, I hate my job. One of the reasons I hate my job is that I work in a very sexist work environment. It's so subtle. It's very hard to describe a sexist work environment because it's very hard to, you know, the average guy will say he's not sexist and seriously, truly believe he's not. But then there's this element of it permeates the air and everybody, I don't even know how to articulate it. So I'll just leave it at that I work in a sexist work environment. And last week during World Cup, I was kind of into it. I was totally had caught World Cup fever and I had watched a lot of the games. And one of the big cheeses at work came by, and he's a huge soccer fan. And I said, so I was making small talk with him. And I said, who do you think's going to win, Spain or Netherlands? And he proceeded to talk. He kept answering my questions, but he wouldn't look at me. He would only look at the man that we were standing with, my friend Sean. And Sean kept saying, I don't know anything about soccer. I don't follow it. I don't like it. It's not my thing. And Buddy just ignored him and just kept talking to him as if, well, you're the man in the room and I'm going to talk soccer with you because I don't know what she's on about. And people were telling me maybe I was imagining things or I was, you know, being dramatic, but I felt it, I saw it, I was there. I know what happened. It was really, really awful. And I've not been able to shake it. It really bothered me. So I was talking about it on a discussion board of mine, and somebody brought up a really interesting point, and she was talking about women as fuckable objects. And this is something I've always believed to be true, and I don't like to make blanket statements about men and women, but living in this skin, in genderqueer skin, I get to see kind of up close and personal how women are treated, because I don't consider myself a woman, so I don't get treated the way women get treated. Let me put it this way. So back when I was more girly, more makeup, you know, guys whistled at me on the street, guys hit on me in bars. I remember those days. I also remember I've never been a conventionally pretty girl, and I've never been a conventionally attractive female in the sense that I don't behave in attractive ways. I don't bat my eyes. I don't act girly. So men are typically not attracted to me. Women either, really. People aren't really attracted to me sexually. I do not emit those sexual pheromones, and that's not a problem. Believe me, I'm not complaining about this. I'm very glad to be in this skin, to live in this body. But there came a point when I realized guys would kind of look through me to the girl behind me, and they'd be like, oh, and you could see it in their eyes. You can see she's a fuckable object, so I want to give her some of my attention. I am not a fuckable object, so I'm nobody. But the problem with where I work is that I am a human being and I need to be treated as a colleague and treated as, you know, a person that's conversing with you, in the room with you. But a lot of men... So my video camera cacked out. I hope I can just continue where I left off. I was talking about fuckable object, women as fuckable objects. And so in my opinion, when a man looks at a woman, the first thing he does is he compartmentalizes her into two categories in his brain, fuckable or not fuckable. If fuckable, then proceed down this path, and if not, then proceed down this path. And I believe that I don't fall, well, I fall into the non-fuckable category, but I mean, I think that there is this element of they don't know how to behave around me because I'm not their grandmother. I'm not their, you know, their wife's best friend. Or I'm not the typical unfuckable category. I'm a single woman with big boobs, kind of standing in front of you having a conversation about soccer. Not that guy in particular. I'm not talking about that specific instance, but I find a lot of men just don't know how to act around me, and it's funny. To me, it's funny. As a genderqueer person, I think. Seriously, like you have to have this black and white vision of the world where I'm not a man, so you can't treat me this way, and you're not getting female vibes off me, so now you don't know what to do with me, so you just ignore me. That's basically the long and short of it. I feel very ignored a lot of the time, and I have to say, there's part of me that kind of gets a little glee from the gender fuckery. I like being the one who makes people think. Now they're not obviously thinking, but I'll bring it up on occasion. I'll say things to make people think. But I very much like not being, I was saying on the discussion board, I'm typically not sexually harassed at work. And that is something not a lot of women can say. Most women are sexually harassed in their lifetimes. And I have been historically. I used to bartend and And there have been times in my life when I've been sexually harassed, but not lately. Not since I sort of come more into my own as a genderqueer person and really stopped emitting any sort of vibes or pheromones or whatever it is. And I have to wonder. I have to wonder what. I feel bad in a sense for women who have to put up with things like harassment, because could have been me, could have very easily been me. It just happens not to be me. I don't know why. I don't know why. The trade-off is I don't get sexually harassed, but I get ignored. And I think a lot of women, my sister pops to mind, she's never ignored by men. She's the center of attention all the time under all circumstances, and it drives her crazy. She wishes she could just be left alone. She's a very charismatic person, very girly girl, and a lot of guys give her a lot of attention. And she's always said to me, I wish they wouldn't. And I always, as if it's something like a mask you can just put on. Well, stop emitting those pheromones, or maybe I'm overusing that word, but you know what I mean. Stop emitting that vibe, as if you could just do that, as if I could just turn it on and start emitting it. It's not in my control. But I'm very happy in this skin, and I'm very happy that I'm not the object of sexual desire or attraction, because it's very liberating to not be looked at as a sexual object or a fuckable object. And I'd always been horrifically offended about, once I realized and came to agree with that idea of men looking at women as fuckable objects or not, I remember being bothered by it. And then since I became aware of the fact that I'm genderqueer, I'm not bothered by it anymore, because I don't feel like I'm a woman, let alone a fuckable object, woman or not. It's kind of like I'm reading a book about other people and other people's problems. I have a different set of problems. But yeah, that was my sexist experience at work, being female-bodied and presenting as female and being treated as a, someone who you couldn't discuss sports with for whatever reason. It's not the first time that's happened at work. It certainly won't be the last. And when I was telling all the guys, a couple of guys at work, I was in a very, very black mood at work yesterday, and two guys were trying to cheer me up, and one was doing a terrible job one was really dragging me down. And I said to them something about how this guy had completely ignored me, and all three of them said, "Joe, you're reading more into it than there is. He's like that with everybody. It's not just women." And the first thing I could think of was, like, holy invalidation. Like, all three of you white privileged men looking at me, trying to tell me how I should be feeling about a situation that I was there, you weren't. I saw it, you didn't. And typical male response. I hate to say that, but to have all three of them look at me like that, and that threw me into a further black mood, because I just, to be so misunderstood is so disheartening. And what can you do? Nothing. You can just try and open eyes, try and open hearts and minds. It's not easy, and it's not going to happen probably in this lifetime. But I do my best. The next day, today at work, one of the guy that was dragging me down, I very specifically asked him to come to Isaac. I talked to him for a minute, and I said, I was in an extremely black mood when I left here, and I've told you time and time again not to, you dragged me down, and I'm going to ask you politely, when I say this conversation's over, I mean it. And he kind of looked at me like I whacked him over the head, and he said, okay, and he gets it now. He gets it. When I say the conversation's over, I don't want you to continue to try to badger me into believing that your way of thinking is the only way of thinking, because you don't live in this skin. So that's my subject for today. Hope you have a great night. Talk to you later.